Good morning. Yesterday, the Ministry and Department of Education staff met with the T and Tatem Middle School principal, the Health and Safety Coordinator for T and Tatem Middle School, and representatives of the PTSA to discuss the recent findings from the school's health and safety report that was carried out on April 11th, 2019, and submitted to us on April 16th. I can report that this meeting went very well, and copies of the health and safety report were shared with everyone in attendance. The principal was charged with ensuring all teachers and parents will be issued with a copy of that report. As you may recall, this inspection was required in response to a letter from the T and Tatem Parent-Teacher-Student Association submitted to the ministry and department leaders on April 8th. In that letter, they voiced concerns regarding the health and safety of T and Tatem, the T and Tatem building, and referenced Section 7A1 of the Occupational Safety and Health Act 1982. As a result of the letter, and as required by the Section 7A of the Act, the Health and Safety Officer carried out a thorough inspection of the building with some T and Tatem staff present. The findings and summary of that report was presented to the staff yesterday, and I'll now read directly from the summary of that report. And I quote, "Many of the concerns and issues that were previously identified at T and Tatem Middle School that were previously addressed, for the most part, have apparently resurfaced in and across certain areas of the school's facilities again. This has resulted in the latest concerns and issues being raised by teachers. Previous reports did outline various concerns specifically related to the general maintenance and overall upkeep of the school's plant concerning roof and/or ceiling leaks, excessive fugitive moisture intrusion into the building via damaged areas of the building envelope, poor housekeeping, and general cleaning, sanitation, and hygiene practices. Additionally, earlier reports did warn that if timely, proactive steps were not taken to remedy the litany of minor outstanding findings that had remained to be resolved, that they would eventually morph into greater and more serious issues. This now appears to be the case." The report continues. From inspections conducted on April 10th, 2019, it was observed that some outstanding works were still yet to be completed from the time of the previous inspection reports. These incompleted works have now served as the catalyst for further damages, even to areas that were previously rectified. Leaking sections of the roof ceiling continue to plague the school, although intermittently in most cases, and has caused water damage in areas previously addressed, as well as new areas that previously had no damage. Inconsistencies in the scope, frequency, and quality of the cleaning remains a challenge and must be addressed through training, increased monitoring and supervision, and improved management of custodial activities and personnel. Excess vegetation and overgrown vegetation around the school is required to be routinely cut back and all green areas kept at an acceptable manicured state in a sustainable basis. Poor housekeeping, the improper storage of materials and supplies, and the cleaning, upkeep, and maintenance of such still remains an issue with several classrooms and related facilities, as have been outlined throughout previous sections of this report. Some teachers continue to hoard outdated, obsolete, infrequently used materials and supplies, and of which they have failed to properly keep and maintain. The school also has several areas and rooms that appear to be rarely used and thus has become allowed to fall into a state of disrepair and the gathering of junk over time, although some of these same areas were highlighted for prior attention in previous reports." End quote. To reiterate from the report, previous reports from 2013 and 2016 outlined concerns related to the general maintenance and upkeep of the school's plant concerning roof and ceiling leaks, excessive fugitive moisture intrusion into the building via damaged areas of the building envelope, poor housekeeping, and general cleaning, sanitation, and hygiene practices. Outstanding works first identified in 2013 and 2016 were not remedied and have recently come to our attention, have now served as the catalyst for the further damage. Inconsistencies in the scope, frequency, and quality of cleaning remains a challenge. Poor housekeeping and improper storage of materials and supplies and cleaning, upkeep, and maintenance of such remains an issue with several classrooms. Several rarely used areas and rooms have been allowed to fall into disrepair and the gathering of junk over time, even though these same areas were highlighted for priority attention in prior reports. I would also like to add that since issues with improper storage of material and supplies were identified in our February 2019 report, the Health and Safety Committee at the school has started to address these matters prior to the closure that happened last week. Students and staff from T and Tatem have transferred to alternative schools as a means of ensuring their continued educational instruction and their health and safety, which is of paramount concern. This decision was based on the letter received on April 11th from the Health and Safety Coordinator for T and Tatem and the President of the PTSA during a subsequent meeting we held on April 11th. This letter requested air quality testing be done before staff would return to the building, a request the Ministry of Education agreed to do. During that meeting, it was made clear that due to the primary schools the students were housed in, needing their facilities for Cambridge checkpoint exams, we would have to transfer the T and Tatem students to other middle schools by April 16th. And the representatives from the teachers and the PTSA would share that with the teachers and parents. On April 15th, the department staff, the principal of T and Tatem met with parents to explain the transfer process and listen to their feedback. I'm happy to note that some concerns discussed on Monday have been worked on and solutions already achieved. There are ongoing discussions to address the parents' concerns, and we look forward to meeting with the M3 parents on Monday, April 22nd, to discuss their students' transfer plans. The plan to have M1 and M2 students transfer into Sands Secondary, Whitney Institute, and Delwood Middle Schools, and to have staff redeployed to these middle school sites was done to minimize the disruption to teaching and learning time. M3 students will remain at Purvis Primary only until they complete sitting their Cambridge checkpoint exams next week. After their exams are completed, they will be transferred between Sands Secondary Middle and Whitney Middle Schools. Now that we have the Health and Safety Report, the Department of Education's facilities team and the Ministry of Works will review the report to determine if all necessary repairs can be carried out by August 2019. The students, parents, and teachers will be kept up to date with the status of these works. The uninterrupted education of our students, as well as the health and safety of our students and staff, remain our priority. We understand that this is a critical issue, and we are doing all we can to keep parents, students, and teachers up to date and informed of all plans that are being put in place. We ask the public for patience and cooperation as we work diligently to engage all stakeholders and make the necessary changes. Thank you.
Take any questions?
Morning, Minister.
Good morning.
Interesting report. In here, you mentioned teachers. Some teachers continue to hoard outdated, obsolete, and infrequently used materials and supplies, and of which they have failed to properly keep and maintain. Are you saying that the teachers are largely responsible here, or custodians?
That is not what I'm saying. What we are pointing out is that it's a combination of factors, and it's not just related to the water leakage. While all of these are a factor, when they're all combined, this is what's creating the situation that we have.
We also have here, with a certain amount of uncertainty, that you hope to have everything done by August of this year?
That is the intention, and that is what we aim to do.
And that's it for me. Yeah, I should do it.
Sure.
Paul,
Good morning, Minister.
Good morning.
The report, you said that Principal Coddington was responsible for distributing it to other staff members and parents.
Yes.
Will that report be made public at any point?
Yes.
When will that be done?
It will be sent out after this press conference.
Okay, fantastic. Were air tests done as part of the inspections last week?
No.
No. Okay. One thing you mentioned here is that following Monday night's meeting with M1 and M2 students, parents had raised, I guess, some concerns. You said some of those concerns have been worked on and solutions achieved. Can you tell me what those concerns were and what the subsequent, I guess, solutions achieved are?
One of the issues that were brought up by the parents were the students that attend the functional skills class which will happen at Delwood, and they had expressed concern on how these particular students who are unable to catch public buses would be getting to and fro. I do know that the department has spoken to all of the parents, and in fact, they met with the parents this morning to work on how that will be mitigated.
Something you mentioned there is transportation. As it stands now, the responsibility is on parents to find transportation for their students to get to school. Is that right?
Part of the exercise of reallocating the students was to take into account several factors, such as where did they live and the different programs that they were involved in addition to going to school. And what we've determined is that we are reasonably happy that the public bus system will be able to transport these students if utilized. We are still in ongoing conversations with parents who may also have challenges with that. And as we solve those problems, we will make announcements to the parents, obviously first, on how that will be handled.
So are there plans in place then, or are there plans, is the hope to be able to provide some transportation for some students?
The hope is that the students will be confident enough to catch the public bus system, but as I mentioned, some parents have expressed that they have challenges with that, and we are in the process of discussing with them alternative methods.
Something I don't see contained in the statement you've read this morning. There's been reports out of Tatem about staff member and pupil illnesses. I'm wondering what you can say about that. When we spoke on Friday, I guess, at the press conference to announce the closure of the school, you said you weren't aware of any reports. I'm wondering where that issue stands today.
Oh, interestingly that you do mention that, because it is covered extensively in the health and safety report that was submitted by the health and safety officer, Titus Gordon.
Okay.
In that report, he has obtained the health and safety forms that the teachers did fill out and submitted, and it does contain a summary of that. What is of interest is in all of the summaries of the reports that he did submit, he noted that there wasn't any actual documentation from any medical members attached to those forms.
Okay.
So it's just, again, it's just something that we're working through, and as we review the forms and we get the proper documentation, we will act upon it.
Okay. Some parents have talked about the possibility of not sending their children to their assigned schools to, I guess, complete the rest of the school term. What would you say to those parents?
I would urge those parents to reconsider that and think about the actual students and their educational journey that they're on. This is an unfortunate circumstance, but we would have been in this place if anything else had happened to the building. Say there was a fire at that building or something catastrophic happened to the building and we had to reallocate students to other schools. So this is something that I urge parents to really think about the need, and really think about the students and their need to be in schools to get the education that they're there to get,
Sure.
versus withdrawing them and keeping them at home.
I guess my final question then, the report put together by Mr. Gordon, do you think it supports the decision made by your ministry to close the school for the rest of the school year? I mean, was this the right decision to close Tatem?
I believe it was the correct decision
Yep.
to be made. We are not in we do not expect to go to that school and do remediation only. We expect to do repairs to the school so what has caused the mold issues and the various issues that are going on up there will not occur again.
I guess one follow-up question. Any idea what kind of budget or price tag is being looked at in connection with those works?
That's currently being worked on now.
Okay. Appreciate that, Minister.
If there are no further questions, that concludes the press conference. Thank you.
Thank you.